And we're live. Welcome, everyone, to another high vibe conversation. I'm your host, Shel Shapiro. With me today are the lovely ladies, Linda Vetrus Nichols, Dorit Carlson, Stina Marie, and today's special guest, Eva Vennari. Today, we'll be talking all about optimal healing, and I'm excited to dive into that conversation. But before we do, I want to remind you, whether you're new or back for another conversation, this is a safe space. We invite you to share with us as we talk through our life lessons and hold space for you to work through yours. So what this means is that if at any point on the live or the replay, if you have something to add to the conversation, if you resonate with what we're sharing, if you want to add your own insights and takeaways, please feel free to drop those into the chat. If you're feeling a little bit shy and you don't want to share publicly, that's okay. We invite you to join us individually for these conversations too. And if you want to have a more one-to-one conversation with one of us, you can feel free to book that conversation using the link on your screen below. I will also drop that into the chat and share it again at the end of the conversation so you don't have to go looking for it. If you've been here before and you want to catch up on previous conversations, you like what you're hearing, you want to hear more, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel seen below because we want you to be in the know and high vibe with us. You can also feel free to connect with any of us on LinkedIn. Let us know what you like, let us know what you don't, let us know what you want to see more of. And if there's a conversation topic that we have not covered yet, please feel free to share that too so that we can add it to our lineup. Whew, that was a mouthful. Without further ado, I want to get started talking about optimal healing. Eva, welcome to High Vibe Conversations. Thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you tell the world who you are?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm often called an enigma, so it's going to be hard to pigeonhole me when you hear what what I have going on. But my whole mission in life is to help people get their body out of the way so they can get to their spiritual work and their mission.
That seems like an opening for me to dive into this rabbit hole a little bit called optimal healing.
Yeah.
So how does this relate to optimal healing and the work that you do? Like, can you give us a little bit more insight into how this works and the process that you take people through?
Yeah, is a growing movement of individuals who are coming into an awareness that we are all kind of shifting into this new space of being. How can we be more present? How can we be more aware? And oftentimes if you're focused physically in your head on the body because it's complaining to you a lot with symptoms, which are not the problem. Symptoms are not your problem. It's what's allowing those symptoms to be there. And we often spend a lot of time here focused in the body when it's in pain. If you're doing that, you're not living a present life. You're not involved in your mission. You're not looking around and seeing, oh my gosh, I have children and I have a spouse I need to pay attention to. And I really do have a mission with purpose that I want to focus on, but I simply can't because my body is not functioning. So I start with the foundation of the body using something called mineral alchemy. And if you've never heard of it before, it's because that's my brand. That's what I offer. It's a way to safely and gently get rid of whatever is causing those symptoms that you think are the problem that you go to from doctor to doctor trying to seek out answers for. And they all answer you with, we don't know what's wrong with you. Yeah. So that's the larger picture of it. Starts with the body, starts with the foundation of it. Once we get past that, now we can focus more on what's outside of us and see the spouse and see the children and see the job and see the life mission. And that's where the rest of the work is.
I love that. So how did you get started doing this work that leads to optimal healing? Like, why is it so important to heal yourself in order to be present? Like, what were you doing before? I know those are all loaded questions, but dive in wherever you feel like.
Well, I'm what's known as a multi-potentialist. I have a great deal of interest in many facets of life, and I started in tech world. So I had a 10-year career in information technology. I know how to make a computer from the start, and I can network them, and I can program them, and I can all kinds of things. And that technical information was really important as a foundation for me to understand how does the body heal. But I didn't know that at the time. And I progressed I went from the New Age to the Stone Age and literally worked with natural stone for 16 years as an architectural rep. And doing work that is not your purpose, I think many people can go, yep, that's me too. It burns you out. So I ended up being this hot mess of chronic fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, depression. And if you're saying that's a normal day for me, well, that's not normal. It's just common. Having fibromyalgia, itchy skin, heart palpitations, short-term memory loss. Who are you again? And we just met and I heard your name, but oops. This was a state of being for me. And I had 30 different symptoms that doctors continued to say, well, we don't know what's wrong with you. Everything looks normal on your blood tests, and you should just take some antidepressants and go home and be happy, which was impossible. So that was the progression of time. And it took me 16 years to find the mineral work that I now call mineral alchemy and turn it into something that is usable, accessible, not just to a brainiac like me who loves tech and who loves some really, really ornate and interesting ways that the body works together. I put the boots to the ground and make it accessible for you.
Yeah. I love listening to you share more about like your burnout and all those different symptoms. You and I have talked about that before. Like I have so many of the ones that you just listed and probably some of the others that you didn't too. So it really is relatable in that we've all probably experienced anxiety or short-term memory loss or any other combination of a whole array of things. So thank you, like, because that brings it down back to the human level of like what people might be experiencing on their day to day and what they can see from you of optimal healing and how you've worked through that, how you've navigated that path to undo some of those things. So Linda, I'm coming over to you now because I want to hear your thoughts on optimal healing. What's coming up for you as we've been diving into this conversation today?
It is amazing what the body can do when you give it half a chance. I remember having fibromyalgia, and a friend of mine had lupus, and we ate raw, and I ate my way out of fibromyalgia, and she ate her way out of lupus, and that was really shocking. And then at one point, my body changed, and my spleen wasn't warming up, and which was compromising my immune system and wasn't warming up energetically. So doctors don't pick up on that. And then my massage therapist, who became a Chinese medicine woman, she was able to tell me about these little chi pills. And she said, if you take 8 a day for 2 weeks, we'll see what happens. Some people need to stay on them for the rest of their lives. And I had gotten down to 114 pounds. And I'm 5'6". So my body was anorexic. My mind wasn't. And in 2 weeks' time, that completely turned around. Meanwhile, I had a coach, a health coach that I sat down with, and she's like, yeah, just chew your food. Just eat cooked food and chew it 30 times. And it's like, I don't have bulimia, but if I do that, I will. So I was really grateful for the knowledge of my practitioner and turn things around in 2 weeks' time. But I still have the brand of cheap pills. I have an empty bottle of it because just in case that ever happens again, I want that around. So it is amazing. And I know Dorrit has an incredible story of turning her completely burnt out body from hospitalization and 7 years on the couch as well. So it is amazing what the body can do. And it's really exciting what Eva has gotten figured out for herself as well as for others. So excited to hear more.
Yeah, I love your story too, Linda, of how you tried a few different things and got to the result that you needed to have for your body in order to turn things around. I wrote it down as a quote because I feel like was really powerful when you said it. You said it's amazing what the body can do when you give it a chance. And I was like, we're not going to lose these words today. Let's hold on to that. So Dorit, I'm taking these words and bringing them down to you because we all have seen your transformation and we'd love to hear more about it too. What does that look like for you when you gave your body a chance?
Yeah, like Linda said, I got completely burned out to the point where I was hospitalized for a week. I wasn't able to function much for 7 years. I had the whole list that Eva just said, and a few more things added to it. There was chronic fatigue, memory loss, pain 24/7. I was depressed. Of course, yeah, I couldn't function. I had to have help with everything. I took naps. I didn't sleep through the night. I had little naps during the 24 hours that we call a day. And it was exhausting. And I was so depressed and I didn't see any meaning with my life after those 7 years. It was just like, why am I here? I'm in my 40s. My kids have to help me with things. My husband have to be my nurse nearly. I did help with everything and anything. I had something called Meniere that was causing me to get really, really dizzy. So just walking the dogs, sometimes I had to crawl back home because it was like getting off a merry-go-round, and just, I was so dizzy that I was throwing up. I couldn't walk straight. I looked like I was drunk off my rocker. And yeah, so, and the migraines, of course, that landed me in hospital because I couldn't even keep water down. I kept throwing up. And yeah, it was 7 years. That was not very fun at all. And I came to a point where I was so depressed that I wanted to just stop it. And I got some help. I found something after I went for a walk with my dogs, just strolling around, pouring down with rain. And I said, there has to be something that can help me, something. This can't be the meaning that I'm going to go around like this and live like I'm 90 years old. And this can't be it, you know? And all of a sudden, I got introduced to something called redox. It's cell signaling molecules. It's actually something that we have in our body. We all have it. Our body produces it. But when we get ill or we get stressed or we have toxins, and as we age, our body produces less and less of this. And that prevents our body from proper cell regeneration and the signaling between the cells in our body. So my several places in my body was like these very poor villages where they don't have even internet or phone, like living in the slum. The cells didn't communicate. They didn't get the nutrients that I needed. They didn't get to heal. There were sickness. There were a lot of inflammation in my body. And when my cells were inflamed, they were like really big water balloons, and they were so tight that all the nutrients and the vitamins and the medicines, they just bounced right off. They didn't even go into the cell. So I just peed them right out. It was just expensive, nothing. But after I started on the redox molecules, after a week, my mood lifted. I heard myself laugh again. I didn't need my naps during the day. I started sleeping through the night. And after 3 months, I had stopped the sleeping pills that I'd been addicted to for 8 years. I'd cut down from 3 really heavy painkillers to the mildest one, just one, and that was the mildest one. I didn't need my migraine medication or anything like that anymore. yeah, everything shifted. And as I got better and better, I got the urge to do something. I wanted to do more with my life. I wanted to fill it again. You know, I hadn't been able to read a book for 7 years because as I read one sentence, I'd forgotten what I read and I had to start over again. So my mind was like a sponge. I just wanted to learn. And I started to dive into these redox things and learn about that. And I have a background as a cosmetologist. So I know about the anatomy and the cells and how that works. And it all made sense to me. So I wanted to help people because I understand how it is to be burnt out and how it is to be in the wrong place and how it is to be the good girl, that people pleaser, the one that helps everyone and not take care of yourself. So as I got an education as a leadership by heart coach here in Norway, there was a lot of transformation within myself too, because I, as Eva said, I stopped looking at all the pain, all the things that were wrong, and I could start focusing on, you know, and as I started healing myself, I could give more to the people around me and not feel that I was kind of giving something that I didn't have, like I had before. I felt that I'd been giving something that that there wasn't anything to give, but I felt like I had to give it. But now I just had so much. I just wanted to include and ooh, you know, just share it with everyone and make everyone feel that they could be better. Yeah, there is a potential inside us, absolutely, and our bodies can heal itself, as if given the chance.
That's so powerful, Dorit. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you took us through the journey, the evolution of what you were experiencing, like from how you were feeling in the beginning, how you were feeling as you were healing and exploring what the redox could do for you, how you're feeling now, and the new light that you have, and sharing that with the world. And at any point along that trajectory, people now have the opportunity to say, "Hey, I can relate to that. I maybe I'll give this a try. I would love to experience coming through it like that, or I can see the other side now." And you've given them so many points along your timeline that they can latch onto if they need to hear it and see it for themselves. And you're living proof of that. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been 5 years now, and life is good.
Yeah. One of the things as you were sharing, I was thinking about how like conditioned we are, especially as women, conditioned we are from an early age to conform to like societal norms, but also like family norms or like generational things. Birth control specifically came to mind as you were talking, and I was thinking about my own journey with that. Like, I think from like the first age that I got my period. Sorry for any guys that are listening right now and are turned off by that. You can leave. But like, if we're talking about like when I first got my period, like the immediate thing was, okay, I got to go to the doctor and get birth control pills, right? Like that's something that like I have a heavy flow, like I've got cramps, doctors are telling me this is normal, like it's okay if I'm throwing up, if I'm keeled over, if I have to leave school early, and I've got it at the age of 12. Some women get it younger, some women get it a little later, doesn't matter. But like the norm here in the US, or at least where I grew up, was to like go on birth control and to mitigate those symptoms. And I was on birth control, all different variations, for like at least 20 years, maybe a little less. I'm rounding up, maybe like 15 years. And it was only a few years ago that I came off of that. And did that, just getting off of that and like my body reacclimating to what my normal was like, was such a big difference. And that's just one little thing that we as a society, or like the way that we grow up, are taught to endure and like do what everybody else does, or do what we're told is the right thing and the right way to correct something. But like our bodies are so unique and process things different. And just like letting my hormones reacclimate, like I feel so different. Yes, it's a weird different sometimes, because I'm like, I didn't have this before, or like I didn't know that this was possible. And I'm still like reacclimating even a few years later. But like and that's just one example of like the things we do and are told by doctors and everyone around us that this is what you need to do. So that was the example that came to mind as you were sharing some of your things, Dorit, of like, you do have the choice to undo it and let your body come back to your optimal state of being. And the more that we can dive in, and birth control is again just one example of that, like the more that we can explore what our own bodies are capable of and let them just be, and give them the tools and the resources they need to thrive, then we'd all just be so much better off and living more present, optimal lives and journeys. So before I jump over to Stina, Eva, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what Linda and Dorit have shared.
Yeah, what comes to mind is exactly what you summated. We are taught by the people who do love us. This is how we take care of the body, and it's often misleading. I said the very first, part of our conversation, I said, your symptoms are not the problem. And when I hear things like, heavy cycle, bad cramps, hormones that are out of balance, I'm reminded of another analogy. I love to use metaphors and analogies, and one of them that leads to this is like, we can let the body heal itself if we give it what it needs. That's the next logical thing. It's like, how do we know what it needs? And if we spend a lot of time guessing or going in and out of things like, here's the latest fad, here's the latest trend, here's the latest supplement that guarantees your whole body's going to start functioning better, that's a mistake. We can do things temporarily to mitigate, right? But we have to look at the underlying cause of it. And we're born with imbalances and toxins passed to us from mother to child in the womb and don't realize it. So we're always overcoming something. But the metaphor is, we know how to take care of our car. We know that when it's empty, we go to the gas station and we put gas in the tank. And then when we get behind the driver's wheel and we turn on the engine, guess what? Vroom, and we get to go. But we do the opposite for our body. Instead, we do something like take a pill for the rest of our lives. And it's like getting behind the car that's out of gas and pushing it from place to place. And it doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know why it makes sense to so many others that that's okay to do. And I think it's simply because we don't want to go against those that taught us. Well, these are my parents, or these are the people who are in authority. They have the, certificate on the wall that says they know everything about the body. But that's not being a leader in your own healthcare. And you can be more active in it, and you can have more educated, decisions and conversations than what we've been allowing ourselves to do, because fearful of the lashback if we go against what our loved ones say. So there's a lot to what I just said. You pick it apart wherever you want to, but this is a great conversation. So
Thank you, Eva. Be a leader in your own healthcare. What would it look like if more of us did that? I so hear what you're saying, and I love the example of the car needing gas, because if people don't all relate to the birth control example, then you can certainly relate to a car needing gas and what that would look like. Stina, I'm coming down to you now. What's coming up for you as we're talking about optimal healing?
Thanks, Shell. I was thinking kind of along the lines of what you were sharing, that so few of us have a baseline. Like we don't genuinely have just a baseline of quality health. We don't need anyone to actually tell us. Everyone knows that you need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to move, you need to have relationships. Like there's really, really, really such basic things that we think we can override or neglect or kind of get away with. And those are things I think, genuinely think you could ask just about anyone, and you could say, how could you improve your health? And they could tell you, I could get better sleep or I could eat better. We don't do it. And we have a whole culture that's built around this pace of life that is so harried and hurried and rushed, that when you get into a job or career that doesn't quite feel right, there isn't support for, how are you feeling in this job? Well, how is this, feeding your soul? Like, is it feeding your soul? If not, what are the moves you need to make? Like, we don't have the space because we're all running on adrenaline and cortisol and, stress hormones instead of oxytocin and serotonin and like these, juicy, like life-giving hormones that were intended to kind of be our baseline, to be that space where we're regulated and we're connected and we can actually hear ourselves. And it's taken me years and years, and I'm still on the journey of like listening deeper and deeper and deeper to what's really going on for me. And sometimes it's a body thing, and sometimes it's a spirit thing, and sometimes it's, both of them. But just recognizing that, like, I expect myself to run on less sleep than I actually require. And the number of hours, I don't think matters. I think everybody has a little bit different rhythm and what works for them. But consistently asking myself, why am I so tired? What do I need to do? What do I need to eat differently? What do I need to do differently? When the thing is to get to bed earlier and get more sleep. Like, it's not that complicated. But when you have a fatigued brain, when your body is in pain, like, all of the symptoms that Dora and Eva shared, like, you can't make those executive decisions and follow through with them consistently. It's not easy to do. It's just when our lifestyle doesn't support it. So I just have seen a lot of parallels between, the culture, the environment, the expectations that we have ourselves that are so unreasonable. And typically women do, and people with uteruses and like our typical female hormones, like, we're the ones that get the short end of the stick because our bodies just don't operate on a like wake up every morning and have the same energy kind of a cycle. Even if you can get rid of the terrible cramps and like, restore some balance, there is still a cycle. You can't get rid of the monthly cycle of hormones. And a lot of women I meet don't even know. They don't even know when their next period is, let alone what's happening during the month to their hormones. And so then you add in like this, I don't have a baseline to begin with. Then we're given solutions. Either we're given solutions that aren't very helpful, or we're not given anything at all. We're just completely gaslit and told that it's not that bad and we need to deal with it. So, we have all of that. And then like throw a couple pregnancies and miscarriages in there, which is what I did at 21 to 23. And it's just a recipe for a hormone disaster. I ended up with postpartum depression I didn't know I had. I have had undiagnosed PCOS for my adult life. And I have issues with like diagnoses that were even given, because I think PCOS is this broad umbrella that just says, oh, you have like a thing going on with your uterus. And so it's PCOS. Like, so it's only so helpful, but just to recognize that like, hey, there really is something going on here to address. And I had to fight tooth and nail just to get, a basic hormone panel done and an ultrasound. And even with like, had the ultrasound go into the gynecologist, he's like, I don't think you have PCOS. You're not overweight, and he gives me this whole thing to, again, just gaslighting. And then I'm like, so how about what were the results of that ultrasound? And he pulls it up and just has to completely eat his words, because there on the screen in front of him is a physical image of my ovaries showing that they are cystic. And so it's just, I've had that experience in pregnancies, in labor, where we're just told over and over again that we can't, that what we think and feel is not right, is not correct. It's not as bad as we think it is. It's not as important as we think it is. And, whether it's take the pill and go home or just go home, we're not listened to. And so that personal advocacy piece is huge. And that alone can feel exhausting when you're already exhausted. And, it's just like you just persist and persist, because there's part of you that knows that it can be better. And, you can find that way, and you'll meet that person, you'll find that product, you'll, get that treatment, whatever that thing is for you. And it will start to turn things around, and you'll be like, thank you, self. Thank you for like sticking with me and having my back, and, not giving up, because nobody else is going to come along and do that for you.
Yep, we aren't listened to, and we aren't asked the appropriate curious questions. And I'll never forget finding out after 5 months of hoping I'd get pregnant, being told I was pregnant and did I want to end that pregnancy. What? That was so weird.
Self-advocacy. I love that you brought that up, Stina. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your experience too, Linda. I was thinking about a time that, and I don't mean for this conversation to be all gynecological in nature, but if we've gone here, I'm gonna add to it. I remember this one time, not too long ago, maybe like 6 to 8 months ago. I was at an appointment and had some things taken care of, and I won't get graphic in nature, but I had an allergic reaction to something that they used to cauterize the bleeding. And apparently what they used was silver nitrate, which, if you think about it, the first thing that comes to mind was like that this is only really used on the exterior of the body normally to cauterize things. And I didn't know that it was a thing used inside. I did some research, but I'm not going to WebMD myself. I had an allergic reaction while I was laying there, and there was a doctor, there was like somebody that was learning, that was in residency. There were 2 nurses and a tech in the room. There were a lot of people in that very small room. It was a little overwhelming, but so many people were in there, and I was advocating for myself while I was laying there, because I got violent, like I was immediately just completely full body nauseous and sick. And I was like, whatever you're using feels terrible. Take it out of me. Stop. Do not proceed. And they were like, nobody's ever said that before. That's probably normal. Are you sure we can't continue? And I was like, I don't care if nobody else has ever felt it before. I'm feeling it now. This is not right. Take it out. And just the fact that I advocated for myself and I spoke up, old Shell would not have done that. Old Shell would have been in an appointment and been like, all right, this is probably normal. Everybody probably feels this. They do this all the time. They're the experts. They know what they're doing. And yes, I still trust them to guide me through whatever they were needing to do in that moment. But that particular element did not work for my body, and I knew it immediately. So one, there was that knowing, that awareness of like, this does not feel right, and I'm going to say something. And the other part of like, trusting my own body to tell me what worked, despite them saying, nope, this we use this all the time, let's continue. And I was like, no. So, not to toot my own horn, but like you can see that there is growth there, because again, old Shell would have just taken it. I would have stayed laying back. I would have endured it. I would have gritted my teeth and like, all right, this will just be like a blip in history, and I'll be fine in a few minutes. But I knew that wasn't what needed to happen. So I said something. And I think if we can all advocate for ourselves a little bit more, then it can also help to teach the professionals how to interact with us better. Because yes, we do default to trusting them, especially as our guided practitioners. If it was my area of expertise, I would have done it myself, or I would have like taken care of it. No problem. I wouldn't have needed you, but I'm trusting you to know that you have my best interest. So if we don't speak up and like say something when we feel that something's wrong, or when we know inside of us that something's wrong, then how can they be better too? So I think it goes both ways. And I just want to share that.
I'd love to jump in right here if you don't mind. There is, in my history too, I was told I was infertile at the age of 23, went through miscarriages and whatnot, and was told, oh, you have hypothyroidism, you also have autoimmune, and by the way, there's these other things going on too. And again, the symptoms are not the problem, but doctors don't look at it that way. And neither do we, because at that time I was married and I wanted children. So in my mind, what I wanted was the only thing that mattered. Why doesn't the body do what I want to do? And oftentimes we are so stubborn about the what we want that we're missing all the signs and symptoms and signals. I should not have gotten pregnant. I should not have had children at that age, at that time, because I passed those imbalances to them, and now they have also PCOS and other things that go with, and I'll just mention this briefly, mineral work is what I do. So copper toxicity was a problem. No one knew it. No one knew about it and all the problems that that can create for a woman and in her cycle and her system. So because we want something so badly, we miss our own internal conversation. We turn it off and go, that's not important. So we have to start with the self-advocacy of, oh, hold on a minute. I may have all these issues. I should probably find out what's wrong before I push myself to have a child. Because the last thing you want to do, and I've been there too. My second child, they thought she had Down syndrome, and they asked me, so do you want to continue with this pregnancy? And Down syndrome is really more about the body not fully, producing itself. It's not fully maturing as it ages at the right time. Yeah, high copper, low zinc. Yeah, that's the relationship between each other in the body. Linda just put that note in the comments. It's very common because why? Because zinc is missing from our soil, our topsoil, and we're not getting enough of it. And that doesn't mean, and please don't do this, do not go out and just start taking zinc. That'll make things worse. So it's about the relationships of minerals that matter. And if you're at a place where things are not making sense, you have to continue looking. It's not that the answers are not available. It's that the answers aren't where you're looking. And that's the biggest message I could probably give today. It's like, don't give up. Continue to ask the right questions. And if you're not getting the answer of, oh, we know what that is, and here's what you do about it, and that answer aligns with you, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Okay, let me see if I can recap, because we've talked about a lot of things. So first and foremost, I want to thank Eva for joining us today. We've talked about a lot of things related to optimal healing, including our own journeys. We've talked about what it can look like, feel like, sound like when you are just going through the motions and like feeling the feels, treating the pain and the symptoms instead of the root causes, and letting our body get back to our version of normal. We've talked about self-advocacy and standing up for ourselves. And we've talked about not stopping until we find an aligned solution that feels good for us. And a lot of times, if we don't have the answers that we want, it's because we're not looking in the right places. We don't know what we don't know, right? So in order to advocate for yourself and find your own version of optimal healing, we encourage you to have more and more conversations just like this. We encourage you to be curious, to ask questions, to continue on with your journeys, and to get support if you feel like you are needing it and not finding people that are giving you what you need and deserve. With that being said, Eva, I'd love to give you the opportunity to let people know, where can they find you? Where can they look out for you if they want to know more about you and the work you're doing?
Well, I'm everywhere, but the best place to find me is on my website. And if you look after my name, this is Eva Vennari, The Elevate Institute. TheElevateInstitute.com is my website, and it has full descriptions of all my services, more blogs and posts and things that can educate you about, the type of work that I offer. And there is even a free face reading, a Chinese face reading, where you can discover signs of serious illness hiding in plain sight. And you can go through that free assessment right there from the homepage. So you're welcome to that. I know it's fun. It's very revealing. People are often shocked, and they don't realize as we age, the face changes and it reflects what's going on in here in the body. So you can actually see it, and you can't unsee it once you know. So go do it.
I might have to go check that out. Might do a little deep dive into that later today. So thank you for sharing that, Eva. And for anyone who's joining us again, whether you're watching live or on the replay, we invite you to share with us, add to the conversation, let us know what you resonated with, what you want to hear more of, and we will try our best to bring that to you. We'll make sure to answer your comments when, if, and all possible. If you'd like to hear more or catch up on previous conversations, please feel free to subscribe to that YouTube channel seen below. And if you want to have your own high vibe conversation, you can use this link as well to book a one-to-one call with one of us. And you can choose your lovely high vibe lady to work with there. So please, we love having these high vibe conversations for you. There will be more to come. Stay tuned. And until then, we'll say bye for now.